Hi Agility Gang, and welcome to week 3. So we've been going over some exercises that you guys can be practicing at home that is going to benefit you when you get back to that agility ring. And today we're going to go over a few more. If you've already done any of the exercises before, you've already trained them, please go over them again, but possibly using a different object. That's possibly going to be raising your criteria and make it slightly harder for the dog. Okay, so gang, the next exercise I'm going to take you through at the field today is a send around. So the send around is a directional behaviour. So we're looking to send our dog out and around an object and back to us. Now, some of you are going to be at different stages on this exercise. So I'm going to go through a few different stages of this exercise so you can progress accordingly for your dog. First stage, I'm going to start off luring my dog around the object with a piece of food, marking as the dog bends around the object. So the behaviour to the dog is to go out and bend around the object I'm pointing them towards. From this stage, I will then look to build on our distance that we can send the dog around, and then we will progress onto using different objects. So I'm going to get started in a second, and I'm going to show you with one of my dogs. Okay, so one of the really important things for this exercise is that the dog starting out sees the same picture. So we want to start the dog from exactly the same position every time. And I'm going to pick my left heel position to start sending my dog from. I'm going to show my dog with the right hand, and I'm going to use the verbal cue of around once the dog's got it. So all of those consistent things, the dog will then be able to pick up, transferring it to different objects. So you can see my marker is coming in for the dog bending around the object, and I'm feeding the dog just after that as the dog comes back to me. Okay, so you can see I'm trying to just build up the distance that I can send the dog around the marker. Now, in order to get real distance, we need to transfer to a hand signal and have the dog picking up on that verbal cue. So I'm now going to try sending her without food in my hand, and then start building on the distance that I get from the marker. So you can see by fading out that food lure, then the dog is understanding that it's bending around the object that we want them to do. And I'm adding a little bit of pace, so I'm running towards the pole slightly and then coming to a stop, which allows the dog to carry on moving, following the hand signal, leaving my body and going to the object to go round, which then adds distance to the behaviour. I'm still marking and I'm rewarding as the dog bends round, and then I'm rewarding the dog when the dog comes back to me. Good girl. Okay, so same behaviour, different dog. Okay, so when you move on to the hand signal, if you drop your hand, the dog's going to follow the hand. So try not to give a waving around signal, give a consistent hand up. Once the dog's gone around the object, drop your arm, marking the behaviour, feeding the dog back at you. One more go. Come. Okay, so once we got the hand signal and the verbal cue clear to the dog, and we're able to send the dog around the object that we're using, we want to progress on to different objects. So as well as building our distance onto the behaviour, if we build onto different objects, it helps the dog differentiate that I don't just go around cones or I don't just go around poles. So get out and use your environment, use what you've got to your disposal. Trees, I've seen some people doing it on trees. It's a really good exercise for recall because you're working your dog away and then they're coming back for their reward. So if you can send your dog out and around trees or around park benches and back to you, it's only going to benefit you recall wise. I'm now going to demo with a bulldog. I've got a different object behind me. It's a bin, so we're going to use a hooper's bin. So get out, use your environment, do your training from home for the time being, and I want to see you working on different objects, different locations, through your behaviours we've trained today. Good luck, gang. See you soon. This time we're going to work on sending the dog the opposite direction. Now there's a couple of important key factors you need to get right when starting to teach this behaviour. Now remember, the dog benefits from seeing the same picture before he starts each first repetition. If he sees the same picture, the behaviour looks the same to him, and then he can improve that behaviour quicker and easier. If you starting the dog in the same position each time, that's going to happen for the dog. So make sure you're starting the dog in the same position. So if you remember from last week, we started the dog on the left hand side and we were sending the dog from left to right back to us. Today we're going to start the dog on the right hand side and we're going to send the dog around the pole back to us from right to left. Now I'm going to start off luring this behaviour. And then I'm going to start improving the behaviour a little bit quicker if possible. If we get everything right, the dog should pick it up a bit quicker because he's already learnt the other around. We're going to call it something different. So we're going to verbal cue it. Circle is what I'm going to use. So I use around for left to right and I use circle for right to left. I'm going to use the opposite hand to what I use for sending the dog for around than I do for circle, so that also helps the dog out. So giving the dog as many contextual cues as possible at the start of the behaviour, it helps the dog pick it up. So here we go. Okay, so she got one wrong there out of 5. So for me, I'm still going to push her on. And I'm going to look to increase the difficulty of the behaviour for her now by withdrawing that lure. So I'm going to start trying to put her onto a hand signal. I'm going to start extending the distance and getting in that verbal cue of circle rather than around. So remember, when using your hand signal to send the dog on and build distance in the behaviour, keep that arm up until the dog's gone round, then dropping the arm, bringing the dog in and rewarding the dog back at you. Your marker comes in as the dog bends. So remember, the behaviour to the dog is bending around the object. But yeah, have fun. Next, we're going to make it a little bit harder for you and we're going to add the two together. So we're going to look at building in the send around with the circle and we're going to do a figure of 8. Okay, so I'm going to put out 2 markers. I'm going to ask my dog to go around one, back to me, and then circle the other one. So we're building in that figure of 8 and then each behaviour will build at the same speed and at the same quality. and also the dog will be able to differentiate the two different verbal cues when you're giving them to the dog. So that was a couple of dogs adding the two behaviours together there. So we're working on the distance of the behaviour and also the distraction of working with different objects. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys practice. So post up some videos or pictures of your objects you're doing your rounds with. If you've got any questions, post them into the group and we'll answer you straight away. So last of all today, what we're going to look at is adding in our chair tunnel from last week with our round and our circle. So we're going to place out two objects either side of our chair tunnel, and we're going to ask the dog to go around through the chair tunnel, circle, back through the chair tunnel, around, back through the tunnel, circle, back through the tunnel. So we can do a bit of a figure of 8 now, but including that tunnel in between, and we can build on our distances, and we can also play around with angles that the dogs are coming out of the tunnel and going to their round. Okay, so Agility Gang, that is the end of week 3 of our virtual classes. So have a little play with your send around both directions, trying to switch the dog onto the opposite hand as they come round, so you're staying on the same side as the dog. This is going to benefit you in the agility ring when changing sides with those front crosses, but also building distance onto those behaviours. Next week, you're going to need a jump. Okay, so we want you to source yourself some sort of makeshift jump. I'm just going to use 2 chairs with a bamboo stick across them. So have a little look around your house this week, see what you've got, which you can source to use for a jump for next week's lesson. Enjoy.